this is Doug Renstrom with ROI Training. Minikube is a lightweight Kubernetes cluster that you can run on your development machine. In this video, you will learn to install Minikube and use it to test your containerized applications. Let's switch to the demo machine.
Okay, this is demo 3 in a series of 8 demos on deploying applications to Kubernetes. In this demo, we're going to talk about Minikube. So first of all, what is Minikube? Minikube is a lightweight Kubernetes cluster that you can run on any machine. So the first thing to do if you want to use Minikube is install it. So if we go here to a browser and we'll just do a search for Minikube, this is our website here, Welcome Minikube. And this is the documentation, so I would encourage you to kind of read down through it if you're interested in using it. But just to get it installed, we would go here to get started, and notice it gives you installation instructions for different operating systems depending on what you're running on. So I'm running on a Mac, and this is how I installed it on my computer. So it's pretty straightforward. Just using homebrew, so you say brew install Minikube, and then magic happens and it works. Or again, there's Linux version here or Windows version of that installation. Now, once you get it installed on your computer, you have to start it up, right? So if I go here to terminal, kubectl, that's Kubernetes CLI. At this point, if I say kubectl get nodes, notice it doesn't return anything, or it just returns an error, right? Well, the error is returned because kubectl is not currently pointing at anything, and I don't have Minikube running on my machine. So if I want to install or start up Minikube, I'll just run the command Minikube start. And really what it does is it runs Minikube as a Docker container on your local machine. So give that a minute. That shouldn't take too long. Okay, now that Minikube is started, you might be interested if you type a Docker PS. Docker PS will show you all the running containers. And notice we have the Minikube container up and running right now. Now that Minikube is started, then we can start using kubectl commands to deploy things or to manage that cluster. So if I type Minikube get nodes, then it'll show me, oh, okay, you have Minikube up and running and ready to go. And now I can deploy my applications to it. Now we've been using this events app program as our demo program for this video series. So why don't we see if we can install the events app program to it. Now, there's another Minikube command that you might like. So if you type Minikube dashboard, that'll start up a nice UI. And it'll show us what we have deployed so far, which is basically nothing, right? So if we go look at deployments and jobs and pods, there's nothing to display in any of those. If we go look at our services, there's only the default Kubernetes service, which is always running, and so on and so forth. So we have nothing here at this point. So now again, let's deploy the events app into our Minikube cluster. Now, I have that somewhat automated. So if I go back to my events app source code in my code editor, I have this folder called automation. And inside the automation folder, I wrote this little shell script, setup event app.sh. And again, this really simple. The first two commands up here, they install the database on my Kubernetes cluster. And then once I have the database installed, then this command right here will install the rest of the program, and then hopefully it'll all work. So if we go into terminal from here, let's type ls, and let's make sure we're in the right folder. So we're in the automation folder, and we're going to run this shell script here. So we'll type bash, and then setup event app.sh. And now hopefully that works. So notice it did run, so it installed the database, and then down here it said it had created all the programs and so on. Now, if I go back to the dashboard and start clicking around, now we see we have some things. So if I go to deployments, now I have the events API and events web. If I look at jobs, I have my data, or my DB initializer job has been created. If we look at pods, then we have all our pods, and there's our database. Hopefully that's all working and running. I guess it's possible the database isn't quite ready to go yet. And then if we go down to persistent volume claims, there's our database server up and running and so on. There's a secret there. That's the secret contains the password to the database server and all that good stuff. So, but I guess the moral of the story is that Minikube is a Kubernetes cluster just like any other Kubernetes cluster. It just happens to be running on your local machine. Now, let me show you one other trick to installing it. So if you're a Google Cloud person and you want to, and eventually you're going to run your applications on Google Kubernetes Engine. Let me open up another terminal window here. So if you use Google Cloud, there's a CLI, there's a Google Cloud SDK. And the Google Cloud SDK includes a CLI called gcloud. And gcloud has a list of components that you can install. So if you wanted to see all the components that are available from gcloud, you could type gcloud components list. And then if we hunt around there, notice there is a component called Minikube. And on my machine right here, the Minikube component has not been installed. All right, now, I wouldn't want to install two versions of Minikube on the same machine. That wouldn't make any sense. But I guess I'm pointing that out because as an alternative to going and installing Minikube via the instructions here, you can install the gcloud CLI, assuming you already have that installed. Then the other way to install Minikube would be to type gcloud components install Minikube, and that would install it as well. Okay, now you can also, if you don't want to touch your machine, if you go into Google Cloud and in a project and you start up Cloud Shell, you will notice if you type gcloud components list, again, it'll show you all the components that are available. And one of those components is going to be Minikube right here. But inside Cloud Shell, it is already installed and it's waiting for you to use it if you like. So that's another way you can use Minikube. You just go to the cloud and then open up Cloud Shell and then type Minikube start. And then that'll start up a Kubernetes cluster within your Cloud Shell right here. Now you might be saying, well, why would I want to do that? If I'm working in Google Cloud, I can just create a GKE cluster, which is true, but you'd have to pay for your GKE cluster. And you'd have to pay to run that. If you were just testing your application, maybe you just want to start up Minikube and test it on there before you actually deploy it to a real GKE cluster, right? But anyway, hopefully that worked, right? Hopefully we have our application up and running at this point. So let's go back to my machine and we'll run kubectl get pods, and hopefully all the pods are running. So it looks like we're good. Our database server is running, our job was completed, and then all our other pods for our website and our API are running. And then we type kubectl get services, and then this lists our services. Now, again, as we saw earlier, Minikube is not going to give us an external IP address for our load balancer. There's no way for it to do that. So what we'll do is type another Minikube command, Minikube service, and then the name of our service, which is events-web. And that'll create a tunnel to our website. And our application is running, and we should be able to add some likes, and we should be able to add another event if we want to. Food and drinks will be our description. And this time this will be at Kevin's house. And that will be tonight. So hopefully all is working. There we go. Okay, so in this video, we saw a little bit about how Minikube works. So join me for the next video and we'll talk more about Kubernetes and deploying Kubernetes applications. This is Doug Renstrom with ROI Training.